How fast can I explain the basics of Algebra 2? Let's find out. Now, let's say we want to solve this expression here by factoring. So the way that I can factor, well, first I'm going to take that minus 9x and make that plus negative 9x. And the way that I can factor this is by figuring out what adds to equal negative 9 and multiplies to equal 20. Now, I can do this by making a chart of everything that multiplies to equal positive 20. The only term that's going to add to give me negative 9 is this last term at the end right here, the negative 4 and the negative 5. So I want to keep that negative 4 and negative 5. Now I want to put it into this expression where I have x plus one number times x plus another number. And so I can insert the negative 4 and negative 5 since I know those add to give me negative 9 and multiply to give me positive 20 because the two negatives will cancel out, so I'll get positive 20. Now what's going to happen here is I can set both of these to minus signs instead. Since it's x plus negative 4, that's x minus 4 times x minus 5. I set both equal to 0 and I solve both sides of the equation. If I add the 5 and I add the 4, I get those to cancel, leaving me with 4 and 5, and those are my final roots of this expression. Now there's another way I could have solved this, and that's using this quadratic formula. This is an equation that will give you the two roots. So what you need to figure out is what is going to be your a term, what is going to be your b term, and what is going to be your c term. What's in front of this expression is an implicit 1 right there. That's my a. Right here I have a negative 9. That's my b. And right here I have a positive 20. So 20 is my c. So I can take all of these variables and plug them into this equation where I see b, a, and c throughout this equation. So when I do that, and I'll just show you what these are. When a is 1, b is negative 9, and c is 20, this is what it's all going to look like plugged into this equation. Now all I need to do is simplify here using arithmetic. So the negatives will cancel on the 9, and I'll get 9 plus or minus the square root of negative 9 squared is positive 81. Minus 4 times 1 times 20, that's 4 times 20, which is 80, all over 2. Now what I can do is I can simplify what's underneath the square root. 81 minus 80 is going to be positive 1. And the square root of 1 is just going to give you 1. So I have 9 plus or minus 1 over 2. So I have 9 plus 1 over 2 and 9 minus 1 over 2. And my two x's are going to end up being 5 and 4. And notice that those match the two x's we got before. Now let's talk a little bit about graphs. And we want to plot this line right here. So the way that we can do this is by taking random numbers on our x-axis and plugging them in to solve for y. Keep in mind your x-axis is always going to be your inputs. And your vertical axis, your y, is always going to be your outputs. So in this case, I can plug in 1 for x. And if I plug in 1, I get negative 2. So the point 1 comma negative 2 is an x and y coordinate. Now I can take a negative 1 and plug it in, and that's going to give me negative 6. So negative 1 comma negative 6 is another x and y coordinate. Finally, I'm going to plug in 0, and this will give me negative 4. And what I can do is I can take those all and plot them on the graph. Now, if I plot those, all I need to do is draw a line through all those points, and that's going to give me my line. This is the line that comes from this equation here. Now, something to recognize is this equation is something called point-slope form. This right here is your slope, the rise of this line over the run of this line. Dividing this into this will give you your slope. Another thing to recognize is your b is exactly where we meet the y-axis. So notice here we meet the y-axis at 0, negative 4, and that can be seen right here that negative 4 is where we're going to touch the y-axis. And that is a general introduction to Algebra 2.